Stop filling raised beds wrong. Do this instead for, forever soil. Build soil that lasts, feeds your plants, and doesn't sink every season. If you've ever filled a raised bed with compost, stood back proudly, planted your seedlings, and then watched the entire bed sink halfway through the season, I want you to know something right now. It's not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong. You've just been taught a method that sounds right but simply doesn't work long term. Most garden advice focuses on feeding the plants, but real soil building is about feeding the soil ecosystem. And once you understand that difference, everything changes. Your raised beds stop shrinking, your plants root deeper, they become stronger, greener, more resilient, and less demanding. Your soil becomes something that lasts, instead of something you have to rebuild every year. Today, I want to show you how to fill or refill raised beds the right way, using a method that mimics the forest floor, builds stable humus, and turns your garden into a living system. This is the SoilPower approach. Let's talk about compost. We love compost. It smells alive, it feels rich, it promises fertility. But compost has one big flaw that nobody tells you about. Compost is not soil. Compost is food, and food gets eaten. When you fill a raised bed with pure compost, the microorganisms break it down rapidly. They digest the organic matter and release it as carbon dioxide. The result? The bed sinks, the soil compacts, air is lost, moisture retention drops, roots struggle, plants weaken. So every year, you're stuck topping up the bed, hauling more compost, spending more time and more money. And the cycle never ends. The soil never stabilizes because compost alone does not create structure. What your raised bed is missing is carbon skeleton material, but not the slow decaying plant matter that creates depth, aeration, and long-term stability. In nature, this comes from fallen leaves, broken stems, dead grasses, rotting roots, all layered over time. In gardens, we have to consciously rebuild that system. Instead of thinking of soil as something you fill, think of it as something you build. It's layered, alive, and always improving. When we layer materials the way nature does, we create a soil environment where worms thrive, fungi form networks that feed plants, microbes break down organic matter gradually, moisture is held deep in the soil, and structure remains stable year after year. This is the opposite of quick-fix gardening. This is soil for the long game. If compost is the food, carbon is the body. When filling a raised bed the right way, the first layer should always be structural carbon. These are materials that break down slowly, hold air, and prevent sinking. Think of the carbon layer as the forest floor in early winter. A soft blanket of leaves, stems, and stalks. Good carbon sources include shredded dry leaves, which are excellent, straw or dried grass stems, small twigs, bark chips, garden cuttings, and shredded cardboard, just plain brown, and no tape. Spread this material in your raised bed about 4 to 8 inches deep. Don't worry about making it perfect. Nature isn't perfect. Nature is layered and textured and uneven, and that's exactly what we want. This carbon layer is what stops your soil from compacting and collapsing later. Carbon alone doesn't break down. It needs nitrogen to activate microbial life. This is where most gardeners overthink ratios, but don't stress. If you use roughly twice as much carbon as nitrogen, you'll get a steady, well-balanced breakdown. Nitrogen layers can include green, grass clippings, fresh plant prunings, kitchen scraps, coffee grounds, and fresh young weeds before they seed. Scatter your nitrogen layer lightly over the carbon layer, almost like seasoning. Do not mix. Let the worms and fungi do the mixing over time. This is the step gardeners often skip, and honestly, it's the reason so many raised beds just don't mature into those vibrant living systems we all want. Microbes don't just appear from nowhere. They really need to be introduced. You can seed your soil life pretty easily by adding just a small handful of real living soil from places like a forest edge, a thriving garden bed, an old compost pile, or even just a patch of healthy ground. Or, if you're like a lot of SoilPower gardeners, and you like to brew your own natural inputs, you can actually speed up decomposition by drizzling a little lab, which is lactic acid bacteria serum, some fermented plant juice, or even rice wash microbe water. Just mix about a tablespoon per liter of non-chlorinated water and sprinkle it lightly between your layers. Here's the thing, you are not feeding the plants at this stage, you are awakening the soil community. This, right here, is where building raised beds really starts to feel satisfying. You add carbon, then nitrogen, then microbes, then again carbon, nitrogen, microbes. It's like building lasagna, only this one feeds the earth instead of people. As you stack your layers, just remember to lightly water each one. Soil organisms absolutely need moisture to function, and honestly, the more hydrated your layers are from the beginning, the faster they'll knit together. Stop when the bed is completely full, even if it looks way too full, even if it looks, a little messy, because now, this is where the magic happens. Once your raised bed is all layered and watered, just walk away. Seriously, you don't need to mix, you don't need to till, and you really don't need to worry. Above ground, everything might look still, but below ground, everything is alive. Fungi start weaving white filaments across stems and roots. Worms move upward, dragging material deeper into the bed. Bacteria multiply. Carbon breaks down slowly, but still maintains structure. Over weeks and months, your raised bed transforms into something dark, moist, crumbly, spongy, resilient, living soil. The kind of soil that actually feeds itself. And honestly, that is the difference between gardening for just one season and gardening for life. By building soil like this, your raised beds become self-fertile, which means you'll need less added compost or fertilizer. They're also moisture retentive, so you won't have to water as often. The soil stays soft and deep, letting roots grow freely and honestly, really vigorously. Plus, it's stable, no more yearly sinking or refilling, and it's balanced, so you'll see fewer pests, fewer deficiencies, and fewer problems overall. You no longer have to fix your soil every spring. Your soil is already ready. This is gardening with momentum. Every year gets easier. I created SoilPower to teach gardening in a way that honors biology, respects natural systems, and empowers you to grow healthy plants from healthy soil, without having to buy endless products or constantly fight against your environment. Because, gardening isn't supposed to be a struggle. It's supposed to feel like partnership. And once your soil is alive, everything else becomes simpler. Your plants don't just survive, they thrive. If you're filling new raised beds, start layering today. And if your old beds have sunk, don't dig. Just add a fresh carbon layer, then nitrogen, then mulch. You don't need to start over, you just need to start layering. This method works in hot climates, cold climates, sandy soil regions, heavy clay regions, urban gardens, rural gardens, balcony raised planters, big beds, small beds, really, everything in between. Because this isn't a gardening trick, this is how soil naturally builds itself. And when you partner with that, your garden becomes powerful. If you found this guide helpful, and you want more real soil wisdom, the kind that makes gardening easier, not harder, I invite you to subscribe to SoilPower on YouTube, and share this article with a gardener who needs it. Let's build gardens that are alive, together.